Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games. Welcome back to another episode of A Bit of Board Games. This is episode 86, and today is December 14th, 2023. I'm your host, Steven of Waffle Games, and with me today is Ralph, art director, game designer, and slightly sick member of the team right now. So, it's slightly an understatement. How are you feeling?
It ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I swear it was yesterday. The 2 days ago, I started to feel a little bit weird, and I was like, I feel something maybe coming on.
Yeah.
But then I woke up yesterday and it just got really bad.
Shoot.
It's like in real time, I watched myself become not so great.
Dude, that's awful.
And I could have that wrong. Maybe it was the day before yesterday, but either way. Yeah. But hopefully, I'm hoping that the worst of it might, I don't know. It depends on how I feel tomorrow morning, but I'm hoping that the worst of it is over. This morning was pretty rough, just in terms of like a really bad sore throat and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, in the evenings, throughout the day, it gets better.
Yeah.
In the evenings, it starts to not feel great again, and it just sort of fatigued.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's probably just a regular cold, but yeah, hanging in there.
That's good. I have not been like extremely sick for a little bit now. Or like I haven't had a bad cold. The kids have gotten sick. Somehow my wife and I avoided it for that, which like I'm surprised we've lasted this long without getting a cold or something with our kids, because they're germ factories and they just bring in sickness and stuff. Speaking of, I hear them talking on the baby monitor now. They're just like talking to each other. And see Henry is just like saying colors that he sees from these little like glow in the dark stars in the ceiling. And Cece's like, "That's right, buddy. That one's pink." And there's blue, and he'll be like, "Blue." Anyway, it's pretty cute.
No,
they need to sleep, but we'll see. As long as they're not screaming, I'm not too worried about it. Lost that train of thought. Anyway, not being sick, but I feel like earlier this year, I was sick multiple times, and some pretty bad ones throughout there. But I'm glad I've held up this long, and hopefully you're on the mend now. So we'll see how that goes. Which this is also a terrible time to be sick with like work deadlines and stuff. You've been working late and stuff too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's go time right now. There's a lot of stuff happening at my job. A lot of things are due. I've got two big-ish projects due, and then one last minute one that came in, and who knows, maybe more as the season goes on. Everything's in okay standing, but it's just like, oh crap, here's another thing. And it's like at this rate, I'm looking at it'll be the month to get through it probably.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. Our biggest stuff that I've been working weekends and working overtime for like a month straight now, like every week, like working in the evenings, working weekends and everything. Because we've been pushing for this big like pitch work we've been doing, and so it's been all hands on deck. We've all been like just in overdrive for all this stuff, but that stuff is over now, so we can kind of that day that like they did the pitch and everything was done was such a relief. It just felt like a huge burden lifted, even though like I wasn't a part of that. Like I was doing work even that morning, like before it, just like finalizing last minute things or uploading reference videos or something to the presentation. But um, it was just like finally could take a breath, and but then again, like now it's just all the routine stuff is still there and stuff to finish for the end of the year, and then we've got all the stuff we're needing to do like that's due in early January. So it's like, oh, I still need to be cranking through through everything right now. But uh,
Right.
yeah, it at least I don't feel like it's insane anymore. A lot of people are taking off
Good.
work like next week and everything. So um, maybe that means it'll be lighter in general, or maybe it means I have to cover more. I don't know. Hopefully not
Yeah.
the latter, but um, in general,
Yeah, it's a ghost town here at my company.
oh
It
yeah,
becomes a ghost town. I will not be taking more time this year. I don't think I can, but except we get Christmas Eve and Christmas,
yeah, yeah.
so we'll already have that. But um, I won't be actually taking time. But I think most people do, and so everyone's going to be just gone, which is good because I won't be bothered as
Right,
much. But
right.
so
Yeah, we're next Wednesday, yeah, the 20th. We're flying to Chicago to have Christmas with Libby's family out there. Um, so I'll still be working for some of that at the beginning. So we'll fly out that Wednesday. And then I'll work in person on that Thursday in the office, which will be fun. And then Friday I'll still work, but then take it off the rest of the time. Cause yeah, I get Christmas Eve. Then I'm only taking like 3 vacation days, and then I get that whole chunk of time between weekends and holiday days and everything. So that'll be nice. But man, I feel like tu- Tuesday night or something. Tuesday night when I like wrapped up all the stuff I was doing, I crashed so hard. I don't. It's my wife compared it to like a hard push in like a season of college. Like as you finish your semester or whatever, and you go home, and then it was just like you're just crash because you're just like so burnt out from final projects, writing papers, studying exams, and all that. And then like you just crash. Sometimes you get sick with wrapping that stuff up because your body's just like shutting down or like recovery mode. But man, I went to bed at like 8 o'clock or something because I literally could not stay awake. I'm just like I feel like ill and just beyond burnt out and exhausted and just needed sleep. So that was man, that was rough though. Um, Especially coming off like last week. Oh yeah, okay. So last week Ralph and I we were trying to find a time. We ended up getting a time to record a podcast like during travel. Which I don't know if you guys missed this last time, but Ralph they're painting his house and doing some stuff, redoing his office, which we talked about last week in the lost episode and all that. Um, but we lost the episode because I was displaced and traveling and all this stuff, and I just had some dumb setting turn. Like I checked a box to record multi-track on my end, and I, but because of the way it recorded, it didn't. My audio was not actually on the track, and so we knew Ralph's wouldn't be on the track, so he recorded it separately and sent it to me, and I had it. But then I had zero audio for me, which is really dumb because I didn't record enabled certain tracks when I was doing that because I had to reset stuff up and forgot that that was a thing. Um, but anyway, after that trip, that was a lot on top of all the other stuff. So um, hopefully we can actually take a break and relax over Christmas and everything. So
yeah, and I wonder if my video is working this week too. So I wonder if there was
oh
some issue
yeah,
with the where we were and how we were trying to record things last time because working again.
yeah, his video kept freezing up on us last time. It could have been like the hotel internet I was on or something.
Maybe.
Trying to connect through that. But
Yeah,
either
but
way,
we were recording through Zoom.
uh, oh yeah, we switched over to Zoom. I forgot about that. So Zoom worked, even though Discord like wouldn't show video regularly.
Yeah, which is strange, but
Yeah, I don't know. But we actually didn't record anything anyway. So then I did that random I don't even like it still got downloads. People were probably like, this was dumb. Like that episode is like me talking for like 8 minutes and then a random montage of clips from other episodes. So it's like the only thing I could think of. I'm like, I want to post something, but I didn't know how to fill time. So
Flashback rerun episode. I mean,
yeah,
every great show has them, right?
yeah. It made me think though, like at some point we should just like every once in a while record an extra episode or two about like some random topic and then just like save them for like if we're sick and not feeling it or traveling or whatever, and then we just like have backup episodes that are just like ready to go. Um, I think could be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be good to have just in case stuff like that.
Yeah, for our because we're production specialists, professionals, so got our airtime that we have to hit and that stuff. Anyway, yeah. So with all the work busyness and the life busyness and traveling, nothing has been done on the game still. We'd said this last time and the time before that because we're like, oh, like we're gonna get the stuff done before the end of the year. However, I mean, I got a decent amount like during that short time that we said we were gonna do that. I concepted out the companions. We have a good direction for what those are gonna look like, and I sketched out several items and sent to you. I didn't do all my goal was like all the basic items, which technically still have 2 more weeks of the year. There's only 2 more weeks of the year, 2.5 weeks, something like that. that's
Yeah.
that's sad. Um, it's weird. So I hopefully we'll have some time to still sketch between now and then, and maybe I can hit those goals. So
I feel like this is a pretty good actual representation of the holidays because, what they're supposed to be
yeah,
is this grand, like, magical time, but then what it actually is just look at you and me, and we're just like,
yeah,
we're just like dead.
yeah. Well, okay, so I had this realization, and I don't think we talked. If we did talk about it, it was probably in the last episode. But I had this realization that maybe I decorate for Christmas. I mean, early, so from some people, in like November 1st, or like listen to Christmas music, sometimes even in October randomly. Not all the time. Okay, settle down, everyone. But I wonder if I do that because life isn't insane during those times, and so it's like I feel like I can enjoy the joy of Christmas because by the time it actually comes around to Christmas, it's like end of the year. The past 4 years, my work has just gotten busier around Christmas all the time, and so it feels like I couldn't enjoy Christmas things, and so I would like maybe try to do it ahead of time because then Christmas comes around and it's just chaos and busy, and we travel every year, and there's stress with that, and like so maybe all these things combine, like yeah, like you said, Christmas should be this magical time, like the idea of it, but then it comes around, it's just more stressful because there's like expectations on it and stuff, which really sucks. I wish it wasn't
Yeah,
like that.
it's just busy. People are sick.
Yeah,
Everything sucks.
yeah. Christmas is the worst.
Yeah.
Uh, no.
And I'm not actually like there's a lot of people out there who are Christmas cynics
Sure. Yeah.
who hate everything about it and hate everyone who celebrates it. And so I'm not like that. I'm just saying like the reality is it becomes busier and more stressful and it can take it out of you.
Yeah.
But
And if some of the stress I feel like is people put expectations on what Christmas should be or what the things you should do, and then it's
yeah,
like you're trying to meet these expectations, which then makes everything harder. But
right.
I still enjoy it, and like we've done some fun Christmassy things, and so, but it's like it feels like a lot of work, especially with little kids, to try to. It's like, oh, we want to go do this fun thing. Okay, it's gonna be exhausting, and we're gonna be wrangling children the whole time, and they're probably gonna be tired and hungry and crying and screaming, and so it's worth it though, totally
Right.
every time.
Right.
Maybe. Uh, no, there has been fun, and it's fun seeing their joy. They're about different things we do. Um, yeah, just as long as we can make it through this trip, and all four of us sleeping in the same room for a week.
Mm,
See how that goes.
nice.
Yeah, there's another layer of just stress. Like, are we gonna sleep? Am I gonna be exhausted the whole time?
Right. Yeah.
We've had some bad experiences in the past, but anyway, okay. So let's get off that subject a little bit. Um, are there any games you're interested in playing? Any video games you're playing or interested in playing recently? To veg and recuperate from all this stuff.
Yeah, one specifically, um, Lies of P.
Oh yeah, how was that one? What
Um,
explain what the game is, and then I want to get your opinion on it.
so it's very decidedly a Souls-like,
Mm-hmm.
which if you've heard me in the past, I'm definitely a Souls fan. I really like them. Um, this one is so it comes from this development company or two, I guess. Round 8 Studios, I think is the name,
Mm. Okay,
and NeoWiz. So there's like two involved. I don't remember which one does what, but it doesn't matter. Um, and this is like their first ever big game. Like they haven't really
really,
done much outside of this, and it's really mind blowing because Liza P is shockingly good. It's
really.
it's a very tight experience. Like it's tightly crafted. It feels really well done.
Hmm.
Like they really gave it enough time in the oven and they play tested the crap out of it. It just
Nice,
feels good to play. It is incredibly challenging too.
really.
As far as Souls likes go, it rivals some of the hardest stuff you'll ever play in any actual FromSoft game, you know.
Jeez.
Um,
And the general
but
like story is like a dark Pinocchio type thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. The story is it's like Pinocchio gone wrong. There's like puppets. Those are sort of one of the main enemies, and
Hmm.
there's other stuff that you encounter too. I won't spoil it, but um, it's got some really great bosses. It's got if you like the Souls style combat, there's you'll like this game
Hmm.
quite a bit. Because it's one of the best emulations of that formula I've ever seen. Um, yeah, I give it a high recommendation. It's on Game Pass.
Dang.
And yeah, it's just crazy how polished it is. That's the most surprising thing to me is usually the Souls like they're sort of janky. They're a little you can tell
Right.
they're not not exactly up to par with
Hmm.
the works of FromSoft, but this one comes pretty close in my opinion.
Okay.
So
Cool. So how do they like? I don't know. I have a hard time like thinking about that the world of Pinocchio in that kind of environment. Is it a little bit like Alice like Madness Returns type stuff? Like that game where it like
mm.
takes that thing but turns it into this like dark twisted thing?
Well, yeah, I would say it's probably more inspired by the original Pinocchio tale,
Oh,
which
okay.
was much darker than
Sure.
the like Disney
Yeah.
version, which I think we all grew up with.
Which still has some dark
Um,
elements to it
it
in
still
there.
does. It still
But
has like the scary donkey scene that
right.
always freaked
Yeah.
me out as a kid and
Yep.
stuff like that. But yeah, so I think it comes more from the original book that
Okay.
was written. Um and it's sort of like old is it France? I think it might be
Yeah.
France or Spain. See, I'm gonna mess this up and not really remember, but maybe it's France. But it's just like this old kind of like
Mm.
Euro city, dark Gothic kind of thing.
Interesting.
Um, And but it goes beyond that. Like as you like your starting area is kind of that rainy, dark, like gothic city, enclosed city spaces.
Hmm.
Um, but then you expand into other areas of Krat. The city of the game is called Krat,
Okay.
and you kind of go outwards into other outlying areas, and it has some decent variety. Uh, Specifically, what comes to mind is a really cool opera house and
Hmm.
a cathedral. I mean, some of those spots were some of my favorite of the game. The final area of the game is very cool. Um, but uh, but yeah, I guess that's that. They took like characters and reworked them into a Souls formula. So like
Interesting.
the fairy godmother or what is it in Pinocchio? It's like the thing that
Geppetto?
grants the wish.
Oh
Uh,
no.
the the witch that comes and like grants the wish.
Oh
Who is that? I don't remember.
yeah. She's. I don't know what her
Just
name
like a
is.
witch, the star,
The
the
whole "Wish
wishing
Upon a
star.
Star" song in Disney
Right.
movie, and
So
then
she
yeah.
acts as like the firekeeper level up lady,
Hmm.
right? And then like the mad donkey appears as like a mini boss or stuff like that.
Do you have like the
Um,
grasshopper dude as
yeah, Jiminy Cricket.
Jimmy? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's got an interesting function in the game.
It's
He's sort of
cricket.
your guide, but he also he'll talk to you periodically,
Hmm.
and he is in your. This isn't a spoiler because it happens in like the first 3 minutes of the game. He is in your lantern that you carry on you,
Oh,
and so you're
interesting.
like you can have him on or off, and yeah, he and
Hmm.
he'll talk to you throughout the game. So yeah, and
That's
and
cool.
yes, Geppetto is also in it. He's a major player in the game. Like he's a major character,
Hmm.
drives a lot of the plot. It's really well done. Really well done.
That's cool. I will not probably won't play it. um, the only I've only played a little bit of Elden Ring, and that's been it's been very difficult for me. I haven't played it in a while, so like playing an even
Yeah.
like a really difficult Souls like game, I'm
Yeah.
like I don't have the time or patience to get good at those. So
Yeah. If you're not already into Souls likes, this one won't like change your mind, I don't think.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I should go back to Elden Ring at some point. I
oh
had a lot of
man.
fun. I like seriously did not get super far into it. I think I might have had like. Let me just look. Let me just look here on Steam.
The story of Souls is you begin playing and it does suck. Okay. Like my first time playing through a lot of Souls games, like Elden
Mm-hmm.
Ring, I had a very bad first bit. I got very unlucky with the choices that I made. I just did like the wrong things and I didn't realize that I was doing
Hmm.
stuff that they were kind of trying to lead me away from, but I just didn't realize it. So it
Yeah.
was a very difficult, but there comes a turning point. Um, where you'll be frustrated, you'll want to kill, you want to throw your controller against the wall and kill every developer that ever made the game. You will
Hmm.
hate the game. But then there's a clicking moment. And if you can just get to that clicking moment for these games,
Yeah.
they can become some of the best games you'll ever play.
Okay. Yeah, I
It
only have
just,
like 5 hours in Elden Ring.
oh my gosh,
That's
dude,
even
you
less than
barely
I thought.
that game,
That's like
that game
nothing.
is hundreds of hours
I know.
long.
I think I did like
Um,
one, not even like a full dungeon thing. I did like I don't know, a side area underground. I fought these gargoyle things and got to like a boss, and I beat the boss. So there was like,
here you go.
but that boss took me like so many tries.
Yeah.
um,
It is hard if you're not there's a language that these games speak.
yeah,
And once if you don't know the language, it's just an exercise in frustration
yeah.
basically.
I, 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 I knew going in that it was going to be very difficult. So with that mindset, I was like, okay, I tend to get frustrated with things, and like my level of like, especially video games, like I can get like just pissed off about Call of Duty when someone just kills me repeatedly or whatever it is. And so, um, sorry, I gotta go check on the kids real quick.
Well, while Steven's gone, I will mention, um, in line with what he's talking about with Liza P, I'll give you insight into how schizophrenic my take on the game can be. I started playing the game, and it was it was just totally run of the mill Souls like. If you're used to those kinds of games, this it was throwing nothing at me that I wasn't expecting. I was like, okay, this is kind of boring actually. But then I progressed through the game to a point where it started getting really difficult, and it started forcing you to learn some of the unique stuff of Liza P, some of the more unique ideas that it had, and mechanics that you have to get used to, or you really should get used to. And I turned a 180 and straight up just began thinking, this is just a badly designed Souls like. This is just bad. This is just hard for the sake of being hard. This is just not fair. And the devs didn't know what they were doing. This isn't fun. This is crap. But then again, if you stick with it, and I did, I kept on playing it. I was like, maybe I am missing something. Maybe I just need to learn, get good, right? You know, the whole expression. Um, I stuck with it, and there was that clicking moment. Finally, that clicking moment happened for me, and it has become my second favorite Souls like that I think I've ever played, just right behind the Surge 2. And for a lot of people, that might sound insane because I think everyone will probably think that the Surge 2 is decidedly worse than Liza P. But I just really loved the Surge 2. Okay, it's just my opinion, but I really liked it. But so Steven's back now, but basically,
Wait, were you just talking while I was gone?
yeah, I was just telling the listeners like my schizophrenic thoughts
Oh,
related to the clicking moment I was talking about with Souls
oh,
games,
perfect.
where like I was crazy. I went through this thing with Liza P where felt it was too formulaic and boring at the start, and then it got hard, like really hard,
Hmm.
and I started to hate the game. I started to think it was just outright
Hmm.
unfair and not well designed and hard for the sake of being hard and just poorly designed. But then I stuck with it against what I really wanted to do. But I stuck with it, and the clicking moment happened, and now it's like I was saying when you hopped back in, it's like my second favorite Souls like outside of From Software games that I've played, probably. So
Nice. That made me think of something. You talk about like the that clicking moment. I feel like people have to be willing to give you the chance. Like if it's a difficult game or something like that that takes mastery or takes just time to learn how to even play the game properly,
yeah,
like you're gonna lose a lot of your audience. And
yeah,
maybe that's not your audience. So that's the thing with like, you know, Souls like games, it's got a very specific audience to the point where it has its own genre of being Souls like, and people know that. And I know generally Souls like games are not for me because I have never played enough of them, and also like don't have the patience to deal with learning the mechanics and the getting through the frustration and everything there. Um, so with game design in general too, I was thinking like I feel like we've kind of talked about this in the past, but with board games, which we work on, you know, board game podcast again. Uh,
mm,
with board games, I feel like you have even less of a chance to get people to buy in. Like if you have a Souls like game, Souls like in the sense of like it's a game that's not for everyone, or that's difficult to master, difficult to do, or difficult to do well in, I feel like you're gonna lose the attention of people quicker and have less of an audience for that. That being said, you never want to design a game that's for everyone. Like when you're designing games, you're designing for a specific audience in mind and a specific category of people, or people that are interested in a type of thing. If you're like, this game's for everyone, then it's not going to be noteworthy at all. It's just going to be a game that maybe everyone, that no one will hate, but no one will love. um,
Yeah.
Whereas if you're designing for like Souls likes, you're going to have people that, you know, again, not specifically Souls likes, using it as a reference. You're going to have people that hate it or that love it. And so, like, I guess you have more of a diehard fan base potentially with that kind of thing. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm trying to say here. In general, with board games, I feel like it's harder and you have less of a chance to make a first impression. Um, I think of this board game that we have called London Dread, and the idea of the game and like the gameplay is really fun. It's cool. Essentially, you're, I don't know, I haven't played it in a while, but there's these like cultists trying to summon demons or like Cthulhu or something, and so you have like a time limit that you're trying to stop them, and so you're all working together as a team against this stuff, and you have like programmed mechanics. So you have to like go to these different regions of the town of London and like resolve these situations with the cultists, or fight them, or whatever the thing is. There's like different things you have to do, and you have to be really strategic about it. And like it's programmed movement in the sense that like at the you have like a time period where all three, four, however many people are playing, all decide what you're all gonna do. Like, hey, okay, I'm gonna do this in my first turn. Second turn, I'm gonna do this, and you like lay out these actions specifically on how you're gonna take them, and then the phase actually starts, and then you go in that order and like accomplish all the things that you set in motion beforehand. And so it's like a lot of planning out the strategy ahead of time and then getting into it. And so like the intro scenario or whatever, like the tutorial kind of thing, like is fun, and you could, I think you generally will probably win that one. But then we just had the hardest time like ever winning any other scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was so difficult. And I played it with like my sister and her husband at the time, and then when my wife and I were playing, and like it was an interesting game and it was fun, and we would play a couple scenarios, but then like we just kept losing. And again, maybe if I had a different crowd or a different group of people, we'd see it more as like a challenge and we want to accomplish it. But it's almost like it just has a bad taste in our mouth now, and to the point where like we'll bring it up as like jokingly, like, oh, should we play this game? Like meaning like we're never ever gonna play it again. Um, Even though like it's a high
Sure.
quality, like the components are really nice and like the gameplay is interesting. And it's like a cool thing. It's just for our family game night or group game night or whatever, it just wasn't the right fit for that. So that's the other thing too. Even though like I've got a bunch of games that I've never played that I'm interested in, that like the people I'm around that I would usually play with games with might not be interested in. So it's hard to find that specific like target audience, I guess, and it
Right.
and like where people will actually play that and stuff.
Yeah. True.
So our games are for everyone though. You know, because we're just planning on making mediocre games.
Yep.
Yep.
I
But
do think they're probably more. uh, Foundry is probably more accessible than
yeah,
the one you just brought up. I think.
yeah, definitely. Well, because I was gonna say you can't lose Foundry, but people lose every game because it's,
Someone loses,
yeah.
someone wins, someone loses. It's a competitive game. That's the nature of it.
But with competitive games
Um,
like that, I think it's not like you're gonna do poorly because you don't know the game, and you're not gonna do
right.
poorly because you don't have strategy. And that's the thing with Souls likes games. Like you need to know the mechanics really well and the movements and see the tells of when bosses are attacking. And like you have to learn the attack patterns and learn how to counter and do that. So it's a lot of very strategic stuff in with some of that. And so that's the same with this London Dread board game, whereas Foundry is more, there is some element of strategy, but like it's also going to be different every game. So you might get lucky some games, you might get unlucky other games. So it's kind of has some more
Yeah.
elements that of randomness in a way that make it interesting and different every time you play.
Yeah. Also, Pinocchio is set in Italy.
So you were really close.
I was close. I was skirting around it.
That kind of makes sense if you think of like the name Pinocchio or like Geppetto
Yeah,
and like
true.
which I had not
Mm.
really thought of before, but it all makes sense. Um, so so thinking through our games now too, like with Foundry, it is a generally more approachable game, but the audience are going to be people that, in general, like kind of fantasy style games, um, some strategy and like combat type games. So it definitely has its audience, but and it's not like anyone wants to play this game for your family game night. Uh, but I'm thinking through like the other games we want to make. Thinking through like game two. I don't know what we're. I don't think we have like, we need like code names for these things so we can reference them and not like use our game name prematurely and then like with Foundry Forge Trials change it back and forth all the time. So with Project 2 and then your concept for Project 3, at least that's where they're standing now. Um those games and even like the other sequel-ish other world idea for Foundry, those three games are very different from the game we're working on now. And they're all much more narratively based. Like there's like Foundry is kind of like you just play the game, whereas the other ones kind of have either events or things you're doing in a linear way to the point like where some of those you can lose those games and like you might die and you might have to restart your game and like reset or do some kind of reset type thing. Not like a sprawling campaign like a Gloomhaven or RPG type thing, but like you can beat the game in one session, but or at least beat like a scenario in one session, depending on again how we do things. But they're all going to have ways that like you can very clearly lose or die or fail in some way, and that's gonna be a thinking through what we're just talking about. Like that's gonna be a different a different type of game entirely because right now like Foundry you just play until someone wins, or until everyone loses, I guess, except for one. Where these other ones are going to be much more. There is going to be some strategy involved. There is going to be maybe trying to plan out how you're come up with a plan of attack and like have a certain method you're going to go through to try to beat the game, and it doesn't work every time. So it's going to be interesting to play test and solve for some of those cases, and even just like design around that kind of a structure, like where you're not like I'm kind of rambling, but Foundry, you're designing the structure around the interactions between players until enough actions happen that someone wins the game, eliminates everyone else. Whereas these other games, you're designing the play around this narrative and around these events that people have to encounter and win or make it through whatever. But there's clear ways that they could totally just lose. Anyway, all that rambling. It's different ways of like win conditions and how the game completes. So that'll just I'm just trying to say that that'll be interesting to design for a different end game like that. But
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
anyway, let's give Ralph a break now. Let him go recuperate. That's gonna be it for this episode. So thanks again for hanging out and being here, guys. If you want to keep up to date on what we're doing, keep listening to this podcast. And which on that note, we will still do an episode next week. But we are probably going to take off the week of Christmas, so that the last Friday of the year 2023, there will not be a podcast episode. Most likely, if there is, surprise. But also, don't bank on it, because, like we said, life is crazy, and we don't know if we're gonna have time to get an extra one in, and with traveling and everything. So we'll still be here next week. But week of Christmas, probably just gonna take it off, and hopefully get some rest and come back and hit it in the new year. So
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Big Waffle Games. That's what we're doing. We're doing a podcast, doing the stuff. It's been great. So thanks again for being here, and we'll see you all next time.
All right. Yep. Thanks.
Bye. See you guys. Bye.